Hello, everyone from the Pacific Northwest. This is Nancy Rebecca with from Intuitive Mind. I am now officially live on YouTube. Good morning, all the YouTube viewers, as well as on Facebook on several pages. I am going through StreamYard, so if you are posting things, I will not know who you are unless you put your name in the comments section with you, because it's just a protective mechanism that Facebook has. So this morning we're talking about cracking the perfectionism code. Cracking the perfectionism code. So there's already, good morning, good morning. There's already several of you starting to pop on. So on a scale from 1 to 10, and be honest, how much do you think your energy runs off perfectionism or not? So 1 being just a little bit perfectionistic, and 10 being, wow, perfectionism really runs my life. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how perfectionistic do you think you are? So good morning, Pat, and good morning, Christy. Thank you so much for putting your name in there. Somebody said 100%. Forget the 1 to 10 scale. I'm 100% perfectionist. Now, I'm in transparency. So thank you, Yvonne, for letting me know on YouTube that it's coming there loud and clear as well. So in transparency, I will tell you when I went to psychic school, because we're going to talk about the energy field, how perfectionism impacts your energy field, or how you are kind of driven in life by the perfectionistic energy in your energy field. I repeatedly won the most perfectionism in an energy field that the psychics had ever seen in my psychic school. And I remember thinking, well, is that a bad thing? Because I didn't know. But anyway, so just to let you know, so good morning, Amy and Don. Thank you. So we have 6s and 4s and 5s and 9s and 7s. So the question was on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being, you're just really driven by perfectionism and it just drives you crazy, to a 1 is like, nah, not really. I don't think I really function off perfectionism. So, but I know there was a lot of excitement. So hello, from Arizona, saying I'm an 8 with a lot of laughter. And I'm so glad that you put that little LOL, because that's one of the things that really cracks the perfectionistic code is humor. Humor. You always, if you can laugh about it, that's where everything starts to just kind of crumble, and it's like, it's going to be all right. So what did we hear? There was somebody else posted something. Good morning, good morning. A 10, another YouTuber at a 10, much less than previously. Recovering perfectionistic. Yeah, it is a fear-based, it is a coping mechanism that gets you through life. And I would say that, the majority of us function off of perfectionism, which, we can say, are high standards. I will often like try to change the language. Well, I have, high standards. I like things to look good. Um, my expectations of myself are high. We use all those types of words. So 100, we got another 110%. So 9.5, and Tom is a 10. So good morning, Christy. Up on a 10 for 100% perfectionism. All right, you all are going to love this talk. So I'm going to talk about what is perfectionism, how to stop being perfect and still get things done. Isn't that a good one? Can energy flow through perfectionism? The energy of perfectionism, can energy flow through it, like your spiritual energy, your soul energy? And, I'm going to talk about the different types of perfectionism. We're right in the middle of the holiday season here in the United States. And wow, how many perfect holiday images do you have that you expect everything, the perfect tree, the perfect gifts? And then we're going to do a meditation to help you to begin to release perfectionism. So, all right. So when I first saw, when Spirit was showing me an image, and hey, by the way, if you're not on my mailing list, so for those of you who are on my mailing list and you're getting the 21-day countdown, um, what am I calling it? I don't remember what I'm calling it. Something shifting message, frequency shifting message. For those of you who are on my mailing list, I'm doing 21 days of audio recordings of shifting frequency messages through images. So if any of you are on my mailing list, please put in the comment section how much you are enjoying those. I'm hearing from a lot of people. It's quite exciting. If you're not getting those, just go to my website, intuitivemind.org. At the top, it'll say click for more info. You click that, and then you just put in your email, and you will immediately, what is this, day 8. So we still have up to 21 countdown towards the winter solstice. So good. So people are saying, it's finding it helpful, that they love them. So, all right. So let's get into perfectionism. I don't know if you've ever seen the Game of Thrones, but in the Game of Thrones, that series on HBO, there's this, they call it, what did they call it? It's this huge ice wall, huge, I don't know, 200 feet high. It's ginormous, this huge wall of ice. And in the series, the term they're always saying is winter is coming. Winter is coming. And so what that means is it's kind of like the ice cap that may have come from the North Pole. It's moving down further and further. So on this side of the Game of Thrones ice wall, there is a stone wall where people are living and they're trying to protect the wall. Anyway, perfectionism. On this side, it's a beautiful scene of nature that goes through all the seasons. On the other side of the wall is just pure glacier ice. Now, I want you to kind of hear this story, because on that side of the wall, the people on the ice side, people live underground. So there's warm underground streams that can warm up the caves. So they live underground to kind of stay safe and get out of the cold and the ice. So anyway, that's part of the series. And so that's very much kind of like what perfectionism does, the energy of perfectionism does in the energy field. It can be almost like thick glacier ice. It can be a mile thick in your energy field. It's suppressive, it's oppressive. When you have a lot, like those of you who are mentioning on this, in the comment section, 110%, it can be debilitating. It can be crippling. And so that's why I'm talking about this today, about how what can you do energetically to start dismantling that. So, so just like in the show, it kind of drives you underground. Now, energetically, what is the underground? It drives you down into your first, your second, and your third chakra. So it drives your spirit, all your energy, all your essence into those lower chakras, and you're not able to kind of function or access these higher chakras. If you've heard me talk about who's driving your car, it's always about, is it your spirit driving your car, or is it your mind, your human self driving your car? And in this situation, it is the mind, and it is perfectionism is driving your car. So no matter what direction your spirit wants you to go, your mind says, we need to go this way for everything to turn out perfectly. And so again, it looks like thick ice, or it can look like thick glass. So the reason why I share that is because once you know that, then when you kind of close your eyes, you just start looking for where you might have thick glass or thick ice. But we'll do a meditation around that. Can energy flow through perfectionism? No, it's like that solid glass or solid ice. The energy of your spirit cannot flow through. It can flow around. It can sometimes come up underneath. but it can't really flow through there. Now, remember, your spirit loves change. Your spirit loves to be playful. Your spirit loves to be imaginative and creative. And it's like, let's just throw caution to the wind and let's just try something different. That's your spiritual nature. Your physical nature is, okay, we better be cautious, this isn't going to be good. Or I remember in the cartoon where he's like, we're all going to be doomed if any little thing goes wrong and it's not planned perfectly. And that's why, yes, it is a survival mechanism. It is a coping mechanism. And it helps you, or you believe it helps you to get through life in a perfect way, to follow all the societal rules. So this ends up creating a barrier between you and normal human cycles. So just like in the Game of Thrones, where you've got that ice on one side of the wall, and then on this side is the regular cycles of nature. If that ice completely covers you, I'm just say perfectionism completely shuts you down, you're not able, your body is incapable of going through the normal human cycles of your lessons or how to get things done. Let's see. Okay, so I said perfectionism, as it builds, it suppresses at the same time. So let's say I've had clients and students tell me that they're not perfectionistic. So I love it that there's a lot of you who are admitting to that. It's like, no, I don't care if things are perfect or not. Everybody has some energy of perfectionism. Everybody does. So it just depends on what you're looking at. Like in general life, you might not feel very perfectionistic about things, but then let's throw a holiday season in there and you go, oh, I've got to get the perfect gift, or I don't want to get everybody gifts this year. But how many of you have said that you're going to minimize your gift giving, but by the time the holiday comes, it's like that perfectionism takes over, and it's like, I can't show up to their house without a gift. I can't show up to the family without getting everybody something. So those are different levels of perfectionism. Remember, perfectionism then gets in the driver's seat and drives the car, even though spiritually you would like to do something a little different during the gift giving season. So let's see what I was going to talk about. Desiring things to be perfect is not a bad thing. Having standards of, work standards, home standards as a parent, that's not a bad thing either. Having kind of, raising the bar, we hear that term. Can you raise the bar without being perfectionistic? Yes. Can you have high standards and expectations? Yes. Can you be okay if you don't reach that standard and you don't reach that expectation and you can laugh about it? Then yeah, you're not being overridden by perfectionism. But if things don't turn out perfect and you are suffering from that, then that coping mechanism of perfectionism no longer works. So I give the example on my little paper here of, let's say that there's going to be a work party and the boss or somebody is asking for volunteers for the party. Now, usually the person who's very perfectionistic will volunteer. I'll do it. I've got this. I can whip things together, and what it ends up doing, that perfectionism ends up, you're going to infuse that in everything that you do. But if it turns off well, you're going to get a lot of kudos for really having this perfect event. Or often you will get chosen. If you're perfectionistic, you will get chosen because everybody around you knows that it's probably going to turn out really good because you're a perfectionist. And they don't care that you're losing sleep over it every night, or that you're making yourself sick, or that you're crying in between because things you're wanting to try to get, decorations or food and things like that, it's not coming together. But let's say, the work party, you want to get it decorated, and you want to have it catered, and you have talked to the boss who's going to give out bonuses. Wouldn't that be nice if all the bosses gave out bonuses or gifts? So you want someone on the management team to give a talk and to the employees. So let's say that you just arrange all of that. How perfectionism works, the energy of it is, it can only go through one avenue, and that's the avenue that you've created in your mind. It's like this outcome, it can only turn out this way if it's going to be perfect. Now, your spirit could have taken this organization of the party to a whole other level, but your spirit can't get through to help you with that. What happens is, it's like your spirit, or let's say what you dream or desire, is going to try to get through that perfectionism, and then it's going to shoot off that way, or shoot that way, or shoot back, or shoot forward. It cannot be channeled in a higher creative spiritual way when you're shut down by perfectionism. And so then, especially with the perfectionist, when things aren't turning out well, sometimes it's a lot of other people's fault, or it's your own fault if you really are driven by perfectionism. It's like, if I was more perfect, this would have turned out better. Or if the boss had been more perfect, the boss wouldn't have been making fun of some of the employees and making jokes and sounding like an idiot. It's like, I didn't think the boss was going to say something like that. I should have coached the boss ahead of time. Or let's say the caterers are coming, but they're saying, we had 3 staff members quit at the last minute, and so now you've got to go help unload the catering truck, and you've got to grab a couple of employees to start helping in the kitchen and getting the food out. Or maybe the food's too spicy. Maybe a work deadline didn't get met, so some employees are in the back room. They have to finish meeting this deadline that didn't get met, so not all the employees can be there. The more perfectionism you have, the more you can expect things to go wrong. So why does this happen? Well, it happens in a couple of ways. So I just described that the flow of your intention and your desire cannot flow through perfectionism. So that is one thing. But if you have a lot of perfectionism, your soul, your spirit is going to throw so many imperfect roadblocks in front of you to try to kind of get you to kind of get over yourself. It's like spirit's like, okay, you didn't die when the employees had to help carry the food in. You didn't die when it was too spicy. You didn't die when the manager said some dumb things in the talk. It's like, it starts to put a crack in what? Your perfectionistic facade. And there's a certain way for people. Did you know, energetically, as a psychic clairvoyant, it looks a certain way in the energy field, but did you know the human body takes on a certain kind of image? So usually if someone's really weighted down by a lot of perfectionism, their spirit's going to be further away. So they'll tend to be a little bit thin, wiry, nervous, anxious, stressed out. Sometimes the skin will be kind of thin or dry. The hair might be a little wiry and dry as well. Everything's dry. So why are things dry? Because you can't get infused with your spirit. So there's a lot of really good reasons why you want to let go of, why you want to crack that perfectionistic code. So as I say here, perfectionism energy has a way of completely shooting your plans in all directions. So in the beginning, when you're trying to be perfect, it works pretty well because the perfectionism energy is kind of thin. I'm like, can you see my fingers? It's kind of thin. But as you grow older and you're using perfectionism more often, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And yeah, it can be 100 feet thick for some of you. The other thing, thank you, Arizona, for mentioning that. That is in my notes. I will have people say, I'm not perfectionist. However, you won't leave the house. So like a snow globe is another perfect example. You know what? You've got this glass sphere, and inside is a perfect little village. You've got the little snow scene. They've got the perfect little trees. They have the perfect little people ice skating and holding hands with the perfect little fur muffs. It's all perfect inside this little glass bubble. And even if it gets shaken up, the snowflakes will swirl around or glitter will swirl around. But the perfect scene always remains perfect. So what happens when you have that energy of perfectionism is that you make your world small. So think of that globe. You can't expand your world because you'll break the glass. If you break the glass, then you start to realize I'm not very perfect. And perfectionism covers over imperfect flaws, facades, insecurity. So the more that someone's trying to be perfect, the more you're trying to suppress your insecurities. So it can feel like life or death because there's just so much old stuff underneath. It can feel like life or death if it breaks. So then what happens is, alcohol, drugs, food. So just to maintain that perfectionism, you've got to disassociate from the body somehow. You've got to numb the body somehow so that you don't notice how suppressed it is. So we're going to clear some perfectionism here pretty soon. All right, snow globe. I see perfectionism a lot in the classes I teach. So I teach intuitive and psychic development. And more often than not, especially in Psychic Mastery 2, where the students are learning how to do psychic intuitive readings, they're starting to practice on themselves, they're starting to practice on each other, then they go out in the communities and they start to practice. But right away in those first few months, they'll get extremely frustrated because they can't read as fast as I can, or how are you so accurate? I'm not that accurate. How can you hear your spirit? I can't hear my spirit. How did you see that? I'm never going to be able to see that. And so can you see how you end up going down the rabbit hole? So what happens is, I will say, well, first of all, I've been doing this for 25 years and I didn't start off that way. I had to dismantle my own perfectionism in seeing my own teachers. But what I also know about my students is they will try so hard to dismantle that comparing and that perfectionistic measuring that their whole standards that they're holding themselves to. And they're just like, oh my gosh, I just can't let go of this. I can't relax. Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. So you need to start dismantling it. So the students will know it's unreasonable, but they still can't stop it. Now, so I said, you might make fun of the person who organized the work party because they didn't do it perfectly. You still have perfectionism. You're not going to volunteer to host the party because your perfectionistic style, that it would be too out of control. So we'll end up projecting our perfectionism and say, wow, that was a disaster. They didn't do very well, but it's like, did you offer, to help them? And so Living in small ways prevents you from pushing up against that wall. And then what do they say in the show? Winter is coming. Projected perfectionism. Okay, how many of you project your perfectionism on other people? How about the perfect Christmas? So we've already talked about that. How about the perfect mother? How many of you hold something against your mother because she's not perfect? How many of you distance yourself from your father because he's not perfect? How many of you had parents who expected you as a child to be perfect and they still project their perfectionism on you, even though you're friggin' 65 years old? How many of you project your perfectionism on other employees? You know, when I worked at the hospital, I would work with nurses who expected standards to be met perfectly. And if I, for some reason, didn't measure up to that, they would freak out. Well, why did they freak out? Because they're going to die. Now, they're not literally going to die, but they're going to feel like somebody's going to die if things don't run perfectly. Yeah, people are saying, I'm guilty of that, you know. Leanne, I totally have a snow globe. So we want to bump up against the ice. We want to bump up against the perfectionism. So this does not mean to back off standards of expectations of appropriate behavior. I want you to hear this. This does not mean that you completely back off of standards of expectations of appropriate behavior. It doesn't mean that you still don't set boundaries with someone. It just means that you want to clear your perfectionism around family, children, parents, husbands, wives, workmates before launching into them with a list of rules and regulations. Because are you wanting them to behave perfectly so you feel more comfortable? Yeah, you got to look at those things. Am I speaking like I know something about this? Of course. But my tendency for perfectionism was to refocus in on myself. If things weren't going right, that I needed to improve as a person. And this was 25 years ago. I've really managed. And this is the other thing. People who are, oh my God, I need to go on and we need to do a meditation. People who are super perfectionistic have an opportunity, high chance of going off the rails. Do you know what I mean by that? If you've been perfect for so long, so let's say that you're a corporate CEO, you've got the perfect hair, the perfect makeup, you know, or the perfect suit, the perfect shoes. You're always there, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, whatever, whatever. And then suddenly your perfectionism, the weight of it can't be sustained anymore. It totally shatters, it totally cracks, it totally breaks. And next thing you're doing, you're wearing Birkenstocks, flowy skirts, no makeup, you let your hair grow, and you're going to, I can't remember that big festival in the salt sand places. But anyway, but that happens. Or when they'll say you're having a midlife crisis, you finally at some point go, I can't live like this anymore. So the pendulum almost swings the other way, but it always tends to come back to center. So good morning again for those of you who are joining me. All right, my initial question. How to stop being perfect and still get things done. Did you know that you can get things done better if you let go of perfectionism? Burning Man, thank you, Yvonne. You can get things better because let's say that perfectionism wall is there. You want something to turn out perfect. And remember, it shoots all over the place because it can't go to its intended target. It's trying to go down a perfectionistic channel with perfectionistic energy that has no connection to spirit, and it shoots all over the place when it's getting to the point that it needs to die. Does that make sense? Like in the beginning it works for you and then it doesn't work. Can you still get things done? When you release perfectionism, your spirit's able to come down into your body. Your spirit's able to say, Oh, you're wanting to organize this party? Okay, your phone rings and person say, hey, my family's doing a catering business. Can I help you with your party? Great. The boss calls and say, hey, we're going to give some pretty big bonuses and there's several of us, so we want to put on a skit. Great. You see everything starts coming to you. Your spirit helps you manifest, but if you're full of perfectionism, you cannot manifest anything but more perfectionism and potentially disaster. Okay. So who wants to let go of who wants to crack that perfectionistic wall and let go of those perfectionistic pieces? And I will tell you, I will feel like my perfectionism is starting to build or has taken over if I can't breathe or I'm feeling anxious. I will stop and clear perfectionism when I'm working on a project, and then I'll go back to working on the project. Okay. And, Eric Van Horn saying, nature really, I love that. Thank you, Eric. Nature is perfectly messy, perfectly messy. That's going to be our theme statement for the day. All right, let's release some perfectionism because I've already run over. So go ahead and close your eyes and turn within and let your body know. First of all, I'm grateful for all the ways that you have tried to live this perfect life. So I'm going to help you to unburden and let go of some perfectionism today. And don't be afraid. It's going to be okay. So talk sweet to your body because it's your field in the body that's trying to hang on to perfectionism to survive. So talk sweet to your body for a moment. Your spirit cannot be perfect. Your spirit cannot create perfectionism because your spirit believes that you're already perfect. Your spirit believes that the divine is already perfect. It believes that our world is already perfect. Because in the spirit world, everything is creation. They believe everything here on earth is creation. And so everything is a creative beauty. It's a thing of beauty, even if it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. So unless you project spiritual perfectionism on how you think your spirit should behave, it is your spirit doesn't expect perfectionism from you. So right now, ask your spirit to help you dissolve perfectionism. Now, go ahead and just kind of quickly ground yourself to the center of the earth. So you can quickly imagine you're like a tree with a deep, deep ancient root system. So let's just take about 20 seconds as you go deeper and deeper and deeper and wrap yourself around the magnetic core of the earth with your root system. Now let's work with the color of orange or red. And if that orange or red feels too intense for you, really lighten it up. Make it a really almost white orange or a white red, because that'll be a little bit gentler. But now let's go about 100 feet above your head if you have extra thick perfectionism. And first of all, remind your perfectionism energy of what today's date is. So we're doing this call on the 8th of December. You might be listening to this recording next year. So whatever date and year you're listening to it, present time, your energy field. I can already feel, oh my gosh, you guys just start mentioning the date and everything is starting to crack and dissolve. So you're bringing perfectionism into this present moment. Why? Perfectionism cannot exist in the present moment. It can't exist in the present moment. So when you present time it, it starts to crack and dissolve. So now 100 feet above your head, we're going to assume some of you've got a really thick wall of perfectionism. Let that orange and red cosmic, celestial, beautiful light start to flow all the way down. It's going to start kind of cracking, thin cracks. It's going to start dissolving the perfectionism. It's going to let it wash down your root system. Intend that it help you dissolve perfect expectations that you put on yourself. It's going to dissolve perfect expectations that you put on yourself. It's going to just dissolve it and rinse it down the grounding. And imagine it's like ice. It's going to easily melt under this orange and red. Intend that it's going to dissolve perfect holiday outcomes. So just set your intention. Ooh, there's a lot of emotion around that one. That's all right. Just go ahead and ground yourself and just let that reddish orange dissolve. Perfect holiday outcomes. That one's a little thicker because of the emotion that's around it. So you might want to revisit that one later. But good job. You're really letting it go down. You're grounding. How old are you? So present age yourself right now, present time yourself right now. That's going to help you release perfect holiday outcomes at another level. Let's just do one more. Dissolving, intend that that reddish orange is going to dissolve, uh, projecting your perfectionistic ideas onto other people. You don't even have to know who those people are. Just say, wow, if I'm holding perfectionism on my energy field about how others outside of me should behave, I want to dissolve that now, right down my grounding. Nice. Now shift quickly from the reddish orange to a beautiful, soothing green color. It can be any color green cosmic energy you want. You want that green to kind of fill in and soothe those areas where you released and cracked open perfectionism. All right, that's good. We're good for a sampler meditation. So thank your body, thank your spirit. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And I call this a sampler because you just get a taste of it. But right after listening to this call, you can go and sit a little bit longer. I just want to say that red and that orange a little bit, and then shift to green for a long bit, shift to reddish orange a little bit, shift to that green a little bit longer. Because for some people, the reddish orange can feel too intense. Another great color to work with is that lapis blue, because that lapis kind of cobalt blue is good at dissolving illusions. And perfectionism is a form of an illusion. So that blue it peels away illusion, it gets to truth. All right. Please post in the comment section what this experience has been like for you listening. Have you had aha moments? What has it felt like as you were releasing perfectionism? But I also want to let you know that you can still get on my mailing list to get those little messages. Just go to intuitivemind.org. We have the winter solstice, huge portal opening then. I'm going to be talking about that next week on the 15th, about this grand portal opening that we can expect this December 21st. I have my winter solstice voice guided meditation and healing event. If you don't have your ticket, the link is here in the link section. And then my Psychic Mastery 2 program, it's open to everyone, even if you haven't had Psychic Mastery 1. However, it'll be about another week before I open up that information to the public. So just to let you know that that's coming up as well. So, all right, thanks everyone. It's a great topic to talk about. Put it on your calendar once a month. Once a month, I need to release some perfectionism this month, because it produces almost as fast as you can clear it until you get to those underlying reasons. All right, I'm going to stop now. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week as we talk about the Grand Portal.